everyone. My name is Lisa Mulvaney, and I am the facilitator for the Lurie Children's Kids Advisory Board, which also is our Kids Illinois chapter for iCAN, International Children's Advisory Networks. We have today with us a few members of our Kids Advisory Board and our Kids Advisory Board alumni group to talk a little bit about their experience in clinical research. So welcome to the Eli Lilly 2021 Symposium, and I'm going to facilitate a nice discussion among some of our experienced participants. If we could have everybody introduce themselves and maybe just whatever you want to say, an introduction about who you are and maybe how old you are, and if you want to, maybe it would be helpful just to say what kind of clinical research you've been involved in. And then we'll go around. So I'll call on everybody. Since we're facilitating this on Zoom, we'll do the best we can. Isabella, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm Isabella. I've had a lot of heart issues and lung issues. And because of that, I've been in a clinical trial for a side effect of the Fontan, which is plastic bronchitis, which is also a lung issue. And I was in a clinical trial that Lurie was helping with, where they were using certain a certain chemical to see if it reduced the production of casts, which are what you get when your lungs fill with fluid.
Thanks,
and I'm
Isabella.
17. Yeah, I'm 17.
Okay. Thank you. Chelsea, can I go next?
Sure. So I'm Chelsea. As she said, I am 24 and I am a KAV alumni. I have a bunch of stuff, but I am primarily diagnosed or treated for my kidney transplant. And I had a couple of clinical trials, but the most memorable one was a rituximab treatment to help get me into remission, or to see if I could possibly get into remission with the aid of plasmapheresis, or frozen plasma.
Thank you, Chelsea. Isabella,
I did that too.
Oh, you did? Which one? The rituximab?
Yeah, I did rituximab and plasmapheresis. And I did a week where it's you got it and then you got it after. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did it actually end up working for you? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it worked for me really well, actually.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. I've never met anyone, who used that treatment before, so that's great.
Yeah.
Wow, what a coincidence. It's very exciting that you guys are connecting. Yeah. And Chelsea, you had your transplant
April 2017 at Northwestern.
Okay. And Isabella, you had your heart transplant?
I had my heart transplant 5 months ago at Lurie.
Congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you.
You look amazing.
Oh, thanks.
All right, now we're going to turn it over to Dylan.
Hi, I'm Dylan, and I'm 16, and I mostly get treated for my Ewing sarcoma in my rib area and in my leg. And for any clinical trials, sadly, I can't quite think of any if I have been in any, but yeah, I've probably been in a couple, but I can't really quite remember the names of it. But that's all right now.
That's okay. And I think, Dylan, you've been receiving treatment for a longer period of time, right? When did you start?
The first time when I had it, it was around 2016, I think. Yeah. And then we stopped. Yeah, and then we stopped about 4 or 5 months ago now.
I think your mom said you might have been involved in some research that started maybe when you were younger.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah.
With your first round.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. And I see Abriana has joined us. Hi, Abriana. If you're able to turn your camera on, we are just starting with introductions, and then we're going to start with some questions.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. I know it was a tight turnaround time for everybody getting home from school. And I'm Lisa. And Ariana is a new member of our group, so we haven't had her at one of our official meetings yet. So welcome. And we are recording this so that we can share all the wonderful feedback with the folks at Eli Lilly for their annual symposium. So if you don't mind telling us, Ariana, your age and what you know of the clinical trials that you've been involved with so far.
I'm 15, and by clinical trials, you mean like my hospital experience?
Well, any time that you've been involved in maybe like a research study or a particular type of treatment or helping develop something new for kids who have the condition or things that you are involved with in terms of maybe a new medication or.
Currently, I'm doing this journal for this new recent medication called Oxbryta that they came out with like back in, I think it was around May or so. But yeah, I've been doing that for about 4 months. It's a journal, and you like I guess like explain how the medication makes you feel and how many times a month you take it.
That's great. That's great. All right, I see that Hugh is jumping on as well. Ariana, do you mind putting your camera just a little bit lower so that we see more of you and less of the fan? There we go. Hugh, are you joining us? You're still on mute, and then maybe angle down a little bit and we'll let you do your introduction because you are our first member to join.
Hi.
Hi, Hugh. So I don't know if you can see the rest of the folks on here. We have Isabella and Chelsea and Dylan and Abriana and Chelsea. Yeah, just okay. If you don't mind, we're seeing your ceiling lights.
Yeah, give me a second. I got it.
Okay. I know you're just getting home from school, so it's a tight turnaround time. Thanks for jumping on. All right, there we go. Okay, so you can just tell us who you are and if you know specifically of any clinical research or like a clinical trial that you've been involved in, and then I'll throw out some questions to everybody.
Hi, I'm Hugh. I'm 18 and I'm a junior at Lincoln Park. And I have been into a clinical trial in Milwaukee for an infusion with kids with Duchenne muscular dystrophy.
Excellent. Okay, thanks you guys. We're so happy to have you all on. So I'm going to just put some questions out, and then if you guys want to just unmute and answer it, we can kind of do it that way. Some of them maybe I'll just go around and ask maybe everybody if they have thoughts on it, but you don't have to answer every single question. So the first question to think about is, why did you decide to participate in a clinical trial or a research study?
I can start since like I deliberately really tried hard to get into the trial. But I did it because like the thing that they don't really have a lot of research on plastic bronchitis, and it's like kind of a new thing, and I don't even have like an approved like surgery to fix it or anything. It's more just like a heart transplant with it. And so I was really interested in finding ways you can like slow it down or maybe like reverse it so that like future kids, or if I get it again, because that's a possibility, can get rid of it without such like extreme measures.
Excellent, thank you. Anybody else have ideas or thoughts about why they decided to participate in a clinical trial?
I'll briefly volunteer my reason.
Okay.
So the one I'm referring to is Northwestern. So I volunteered, or more so my doctor suggested that I would be a great candidate for this trial because I am considered a special case. So I have been known to go through a lot of medications and had terrible side effects, and it wouldn't really help put me into remission, and I would end up with a new disease. So they did rituximab and they did plasmapheresis because I was at the point where my transplant looked like it was going to reject. And we basically had like little to no hope. And it was like more like a why not? And it ended up working for me. So that was more so my reason, just because my doctor, she was just like, look, I think you're a great candidate. We don't really have a lot of options and we don't really have anything to lose. And it turned out it was working for me.
I think for me, I started it because not so of like needing it. Well, it's for needing
Guys,
it, but it's
I-
mainly for giving, like, I was feeling hopeless and like feeling like there was nothing left for me. So I mainly started to kind of get that hope back and kind of get some like feeling like, you know, like this isn't gonna last forever. It's just gonna get better.
Sorry about that, guys. My internet connection is unstable. I'm hoping that doesn't happen again. So it sounded like Chelsea, you finished your part, and then Hugh, you jumped in. Thank you.
And I finished saying what I had to say.
Okay, thanks you guys. Sorry about that. Anybody else? Otherwise, I'll go on to another question. Okay, here's a good one. What concerns did you have about participating in a clinical trial?
I'll go because I like kind of knew and had been on the medication before. It like causes bleeding. And so like before I would get nosebleeds that would last like 45 minutes and would take like medication to stop. And so that was really concerning because my like platelets were already low. And I knew that I had bleeding problems in the past. And so that was like a thing where we were like, if it happens again, you would take me off the trial. So I was concerned about like bleeding risks and stuff like that.
I think for ours, it was seeing new medicines and seeing if they would work or not. And I think one thing that we were hoping not would happen was like just like small reactions, like or like big reactions wouldn't happen. But thankfully, none of that really happened though.
That's great. Those are very obviously valid and common concerns. Abriana, did you have any concerns about being in a study that you're in?
Not really. It wasn't anything too concerning. Like the only side effects of the medicine was really, well, is headaches and nausea.
Okay. All right, I'm going to move on to the next one. Thinking about what helped you overcome these concerns, for those of you who had concerns about being involved, what helped you overcome them? Was it somebody that you were working with, or someone who was explaining the study to you, or was it just talking with your parents, or what helped you feel comfortable enough to decide to agree to be part of the study or the trial?
I could go. Oh,
All right, go ahead, Dylan, and then we'll go
Okay.
around.
Gotcha. I think for me, it was just really talking with my parents and like really getting over it, and like especially talking to the doctors as well with my parents to like just basically almost calm me down and like see that everything will be all okay basically.
Make sure everybody's on the same page. Okay, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Hugh, did you have concerns, and or how did you overcome them?
For me, I had to be positive. So for example, I go to MDA camp, which is full of kids with muscular dystrophy, and some of them are in better condition, some of them are in worse. And I think for me, was seeing that I wasn't all the way declining, but was declining enough to be worried about it, but not completely really worried about it. So I think that's what one thing that really helped me was like, I know comparing isn't always good, but seeing that I wasn't in a like worse situation made me kind of feel better.
And more comfortable about being part of like a clinical trial?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks. So the next set of questions kind of talks about.
Lisa, I have to go right now.
You have to go? Okay.
Yeah. Bye.
Ask
Thank you
you
so much for having me.
Okay, can you, oh, Isabella?
Yeah.
Can you answer one more question before you go?
Totally.
What did you dislike about participating in the clinical trial, and what did you like? Like and
I
dislike.
disliked having to wake up every 4 hours to do my treatment. But I liked that it helped me to breathe better. So it's almost like worth it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. Okay, I'm going to go back up a little bit behind. I just wanted to get that question before she signed off. How did you or your parents learn about the opportunities to participate in this research? How did you guys find out about the different opportunities that you guys are involved in? Maybe I'll start up in the corner and then work my way across my squares. Abriana, do you mind going first and telling us how you found out about it?
It was recommended by my doctor.
Okay. And did you think, was that a good way for you to learn about it? Do you think that that helped make you feel comfortable?
Yeah, because he explained it and like what all you had to do and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Chelsea, what about you? How did you learn about the opportunity to participate in research? And tell me how that went, or, you know, so the follow-up questions are there better ways to let kids know about these different opportunities?
So for the research or clinical trials, most of the time I found out through my doctors, not really a situation where, and I'm pretty sure like, you know, how my mom was very vocal about new opportunities and trying to see what fit best for me as a patient, but we didn't really look up clinical trials. We were more so just concerned at the time with why the medication wasn't working as how they promised or how they worded it. So actually one of the concerns I had, or one of the problems I end up experiencing, was that I would continuously pass out, or I would have these bad or very low, blood pressures. And there was a point where they had to put on my allergy list that I was allergic to frozen plasma. And so that's considered an allergy to this day. So at the time, it was more so like, yeah, you know, I've been recommended to be on this clinical trial, and we were promised that it would help, or, you know, that it would do this, A, B, and C, and D. And it turned out it was making me feel worse and stuff like that. So I don't know. It depends on the individual. Most of the time, I feel like the doctor's going to recommend it, but it's kind of a win or lose. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Ellen, what about you? How did you learn about your different opportunities to participate in a study?
My mom started to look up a lot of things when everything started to happen, and she also had a lot of friends that helped her look at everything and basically find everything out. And she just started talking with like a bunch of doctors and everything as well. So basically, just like a lot of family friends helped her a lot.
That's great. So she was really proactive about looking for potential opportunities. Okay. And Hugh, what about you? How did you guys find out about opportunities to participate in the clinical trial you mentioned in Milwaukee?
I don't remember if my parents researched or if it was recommended by my doctors, but I think it was one of those. And I think it was not as beneficial as I thought it would be, because like it was an infusion that's supposed to like help you stay at where you're at instead of keep declining. But it didn't work for me. I just kept declining, and like it just, yeah.
I think we had everybody answer that part of it. You guys had ideas about how the research community could do a better job about educating people in your communities about how to get involved in clinical trials? Like, do you think that, for those people who may not be actively involved or actively seeing their medical professionals, what are other ways that you think people in your communities could find out about participating in clinical trials? Because, a lot of times they need people who don't have conditions, what they call like healthy control subjects, to participate in research as well to learn about conditions that may affect you guys. What do you think is a good way to get sort of the word out when there's an opportunity to participate in a clinical trial?
So since my situation regarded hearing it through word of mouth, I feel like obviously the internet is very, like, it's easy to access. Most people have that. But maybe a flyer on the reception desk or something where, it's just available to anyone and everyone. And I'm pretty sure they can give it to the doctors and nurses. And after discussion about that patient, they can, hand a flyer over and say, look, I think you would be great as a candidate for this trial, so on and so forth. But just having it available publicly where anyone can access it, I feel like that reaches a wider audience or a broader audience than just hearing it or sending it to the researchers or the scientists or doctors of interest.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Hugh.
Maybe like most clinical trials are really hard to find. And I think instead of like keeping it like kind of like difficult to find in private, I think you should like make it more public. I know it has to do with like sometimes privacy issues, but like that's basically what a clinical trial is. It's like you're not sure if it's going to work or not. And I think another thing is like just like I don't know, like having yourself taken instead of like doctors, because like they know your health definitely better than you by a lot, but you're the one that's going through it. You're the one feeling the discomfort, if you know what I mean. So yeah.
Absolutely. So when you say more public, do you have ideas about how to get word out? Like what
Spread it on the news, like CNN, or spread it on media, or
social media?
Yeah, I don't even know, but like just like maybe having like, I know like camps, like spina bifida camps and like MDA and like other camps and stuff, they should like, instead of making that time just all about fun, they should also like bring it up at camps and stuff.
That's a really good idea for disease specific camps or conditions that find people who are struggling with a similar illness together. It's a great forum. I know that there's all types of different camps, and then also I think too there's a lot of different groups who bring about like a Facebook, private Facebook group or kind of support groups for parents to swap information. Do you think that's a good place to share ideas about clinical trials and opportunities?
I guess so. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about each of your personal experiences being in a clinical trial. I know I asked Isabella this, but maybe if everybody could go around and say what you did like about participating in a trial and maybe what you didn't like as much. And if you faced any challenges that made it difficult to participate, whether that was like just time involved or schedule or side effects or things like that. Maybe we could start with you, Dylan. What did you like or dislike? And then did you face any types of challenges?
It's a little hard to remember with what I did, but I think it went pretty well from what I've heard and from where I am today. So I think it went really well, thankfully, and I don't think a lot of implications really happened, and like really anything bad happened, thankfully. And that's
So
pretty
you
much
don't have any associations with disliking any part of it because nothing stands out to you, right? Which means you don't remember a time where it was like, oh, I have to do this, or we don't have time to do that, or we have to drive extra or something, that it was sort of incorporated into your treatment plan.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything major that I had to go through, like nothing like waking up super early or like staying super late. It was just like a little bit more medicine, I think, is like a lot more medicine. Basically, I think that was pretty much the only thing, really.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Ariana, what about you? What are some things, and you know what? It's okay to tell us the things that you don't like. Nobody will be offended. And also the things that you do like, and if you've had any challenges related to being a part of, you know, any of the studies or the research opportunities.
Like Dylan was saying, I didn't have too much of a dislike. It was just really adding on another medicine. Other than that, it was just having to be reminded to do the diary every day.
Diary, yeah. Does that sometimes feel, do you like that, or does it sometimes feel like a burden? Or does it depend on the week?
It depends because sometimes I forget if I have a lot going on.
Yeah. But it helps you keep track, which is what they want, right? The feedback of how it's going.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, Chelsea, what about you? Likes, dislikes, and any challenges that you faced medically or physically or, you know, schedule-wise or anything?
I feel like I probably have a few more dislikes than everyone.
That's
just
okay.
because my experience wasn't the best. I have to say I had to get blood work like 2 times a week. And then I had treatment like every other day. So that is a very rigorous schedule and it's very time consuming. Fortunately, I wasn't in school at that time. I was taking a break because I just wasn't feeling my best. Also, I mean, I know the uncertainty comes with it, but I didn't like that my doctors or my team wasn't able to tell me as to why I'm not responding the way they predicted. And that was very frustrating at the time because it was like either my transplant is going to end up being rejected and I'm going to have to go through the whole dialysis situation again, or it's going to work through some miracle and, you know, sporadically is going to happen, or like spontaneously. But I will say I guess I like the idea of a new opportunity being posed to me at a time of being desperate.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that part. Hugh, what about you? Likes, dislikes, and what were some of the challenges that made it hard to participate?
I liked the people, the nurses. What I didn't like was like, what didn't I like? Well, because I was like really hoping it would work, and the thing that really frustrated me was when I found out it didn't work out. So then I quit, and I was like, you know what, this isn't working out. Like, bye, I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard. Thank you for sharing that. Did anyone involved in your research protocols, like the people that you would work with? Sometimes they're called clinical research professionals, or sometimes they might be a coordinator who sets up your schedule, or it might be a nurse, or it might be the principal investigator, which is oftentimes a physician. What was it like to interact with those folks, and who you interacted with, and how did they make it comfortable for you, if you remember, someone specific who was sort of coordinating the research protocol? Anybody remember? And it may be different in every situation. Sometimes it might just be somebody in the infusion center where you're going who, coordinates things, or a scheduling person.
Well, for me, because I work more so with my doctor, it was more so of a comfortable experience, just because I put so much trust into her, and I believed in her capability to get me the right treatment eventually. But I can't remember what clinical trials I did in Lurie's or at Lurie's, but I do remember seeing a whole bunch of people that I didn't know, and it made me kind of feel uncomfortable. And they're trying their best to be as nice as possible and to state the reasons as to why they need you to do A, B, and C but at the time I was just like, who are these people and what are they telling me? They're telling me things I don't even know. Like, I know I need to go and get this done, and you want me to get labs, but you're spitting all these words at me, and I'm like becoming confused and scared.
So it was like a whole new team in
Yeah.
addition to the medical team that you've been working with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
and that can be overwhelming at times as well. Yeah. Hugh, you had mentioned the people at Milwaukee, that was one of the things that you liked, was the research nurse or whoever was helping coordinate your care. What was it like going to a different hospital to participate in a clinical trial? And again, like Chelsea said, meet a whole new team of people. How was that for you?
For me, change is kind of hard. Like, I don't like change. I don't think anybody likes change, but even if it's like the simplest type of change, I still hate it. For me, it was kind of scary because like I was like, can I trust them with my information and stuff? Like, you know what I mean? So I was just like, they probably don't know about me as much as my actual doctors at Lurie's. And I was just like, I don't know if this is gonna work. And like, there was a stupid like type of, okay, I wouldn't say stupid, but ridiculous kind of test they had to do. Transferring is really hard for me when you're in a wheelchair. And this would literally take 1 minute, this type of test, and you would have to transfer to a bed for literally 1 minute, and then you're done with the test and you get back on the chair. So that was difficult because at Lurie's, they're pretty understanding about my transferring situation, but there they weren't understanding of it. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's different. Brianna, do you have any thoughts about when you're doing, so the clinical trial that you're involved in with the medication and the journaling, is that your primary doctor that you see at Lurie Children's for your condition, or a different team?
It's part of the same team, just a nurse.
Okay.
That introduced me to it and explains it, and I see her whenever I go.
Okay, that's nice. Some consistency, and you get to develop a relationship with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you guys can all think about when you're involved in these clinical research trials or doing these extra things, what is it that makes it a positive experience for you? Like, what has somebody done, anybody, even the person who may be scheduling your appointments or starting your IV or accessing a line if you need that, or explaining, what is something that's helped make it easier to be a part of this extra thing on top of what you're already dealing with, having a chronic condition?
Basically knowing that it'll help others in the end basically is one really big thing for me. Like after this, or hopefully through this, it'll help like research. It'll help with the research of everything going on. It'll hopefully help more and more people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And is there anything specific that helped you in the process of the people that were working with you?
Nothing
that stands out.
Nothing quite really, other than my parents and like some really nice doctors really just helping me through it, basically. Yeah.
That's great feedback. Were you gonna say something?
Yeah, positive experience I had was I was sharing it with my other friends with muscular dystrophy. And like I was able to share that and tell them about it and maybe give them an opportunity to have a chance they don't have every day. And that was one thing that I really liked about it, because they sounded very excited about it.
Be a part of the trial, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you were helping spread the information and the communication. You were part of the network of getting information out to other families. That's amazing. Abriana, anything specific that your care providers do for you when you're, being seen for your different parts of the clinical research? Anything that comes to mind?
No.
I only see a little part of you. We need a little bit more angled down. There we go. The fan is not nearly as interesting. And then we can hear you better too. But anything when you're at the hospital or when you're, do you turn in your journal or your diary?
Yeah. It's like it's an app.
Oh, it's an app. I see. I was picturing like a, paper diary or journal with like the little.
No, they explained it to me as a journal and a diary.
That's really cool. So it's an app that you, and then it gets submitted right away to the investigators, the researchers.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Elsie, any thoughts from you about what somebody did along the way to make it a more positive experience for you?
So first, this is kind of off topic. I just want to say regarding the journal, the app and the journal, that's very convenient. But for me, I wish that I had knew someone who was doing or going through the same thing or in the same clinical trial around my age. That would have been very supportive or helpful to kind of contrast and compare, but not compare too much where I am putting myself in a rut. Also, what was very helpful was just the empathy and sympathy from the staff, although I did not like going every other day to get a treatment. And it was like a 5-hour treatment. So it's a long day. Yeah. But the nurses, even the people who were in charge of scheduling my appointments and stuff, they were all so nice. They became literally like family, where I would come and visit them after the whole clinical trial was done and just see them and kind of update them on life. So yeah.
You made some really strong connections through your challenge.
Yeah. That's
great. That's really good feedback as well. Well, we just have a couple more questions that I want to make sure we cover. The folks at Eli Lilly, gave us a lot of the ideas for these questions because they were trying to think of things that would be important for their many hundreds of employees to hear straight from you guys who are involved in different clinical trials. And one of the questions they asked was, were any of the staff and professionals that you interact with from a similar background to you guys? Did you see role models or, people in positions of researchers and clinicians that look like you and that you could maybe identify with. Anybody want to jump in?
I
Go
guess
first.
I'll try for it. I'll go first.
Okay.
So I don't really know if this is an important fact to mention just for everyone to hear who ends up watching this, but I am pre-med. So being in my major, I don't see a lot of people who look like me, first of all. And being at Northwestern or Children's, you see it more at Children's, but at Northwestern, I don't really see anyone who is around my age who looks like me or is dealing with the same problems or similar problems I'm dealing with. So it's very helpful to, first of all, encounter someone nice. I don't care if they look like me or not, just if they're nice and empathetic, I really do appreciate that. And if they're not particular about who they're talking to, because I have encountered that before. But when I've seen nurses or doctors who look like me, it was very inspiring, not only as a pre-med major, someone who aspires to be a pediatric nephrologist, but it was just like, wow, you know, I just feel, I don't know, I just feel proud, but I feel enthusiastic, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. It's just a very uplifting.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
It's a hard question to answer.
No, you did a great job. And in fact, the next question was, you know, would you want to do work like they're doing when you grow up? And so that's part of, you know, the importance of being able to, for every person to see people who look like them.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Chelsea, for tackling that question first. Want to go, let's see, Dylan, do you have any thoughts?
Sorry, what was the question? I remember a little bit of the question, but just
Yeah, that's okay. So when you were in your, you know, treatment or going through the different protocols and in your care, did you see people who look like you? And could you see them as, you know, potential role models, or like Chelsea was saying, inspiration for maybe what do you want to do when you grow up? Like, do you have any aspirations to be in the medical field, maybe in a totally different field?
Maybe not people that quite looked like me, but definitely role models. It was definitely like a lot of the nurses, especially like one, her name is Sam, and I still talk to her all the time, and we still see each other a lot. She was like one of the regular nurses that always helped me, so she was always like a huge role model. She was always just super nice and like super kind, and like it was good to be around that type of person the entire time, basically.
That's so awesome. I hope she knows that impact. I'm sure she does. Abriana, what about you? We just have about 2 or 3 minutes left, so we'll go through these last 2 questions with Abriana and Hugh, and then we'll let you guys get off. When you come, do you see people that look like you? And is this any type of work that you think about doing in the future when you grow?
I'm not too sure what you mean when you say, do you see people that look like you? But yeah, I've had multiple nurses and doctors that have kind of inspired me to want to take that medical route and do the same thing that they're doing for the same cause.
That's perfect. And Hugh, what about you?
The psychology side, yes.
Oh wait, we can't see you.
Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
The social work part, yes, but not the actual like nursing or the like doctoring part, but like helping with emotional and social skills, yes, that's what I'm interested in.
That's something you would want to do when you grow up.
Yeah.
And did you see in your care and when you went to Milwaukee, people of a similar cultural background to you? Did you see people who look like you?
No, not really. It was
Not
just
so much.
different people. I like when there's like diverse people around me. I don't know why I like that. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, you guys have done an amazing job of sharing your experience, and we know it's, you know, personal, and we really appreciate you guys being open with the panel. Everybody in the research community and in healthcare in general really likes to hear straight from you guys, what it's like, what can they do better, what can they keep doing well that makes a big impact and makes these, you know, makes participating in these research studies and clinical trials bearable and even positive. So we can't thank you enough for sharing all your thoughts today, and for being on camera, and for being on yet another Zoom. We wish it was in person, but we thank you guys so much.